for our summer compensation refresher webinar. Having some display technical difficulties this morning, so I apologize for being in Adobe. But thanks for joining us this morning. We are recording today's session. We'll be putting that out on the HR website on a YouTube link, so everyone from our system campuses can view this as well. And I will email out all of the presentation slides as well as the resources as soon as we wrap up this morning. So we'll send you on your way and be able to get started with summer compensation. So let's dive on in. Quick agenda. We're just going to review those summer compensation basics, talk about session codes, how we removed those a couple years ago. That process is working really well for us. We'll talk about the FTE faculty process as well as that TFAC adjunct process and go over all of the resources and tools available to you. So let's start with our basics. What is summer comp? Well, summer comp is how we pay our faculty on 9, 10 and a half, and 11-month basis for work performed over the summer months during their out-of-basis time. Now, just remember, when we say summer, that means 5/16 of the given year through 8/15 of the given year. So that is when summer compensation can occur. For those 9-monthers, it'll be that full time period. For 10 and a half and 11, it is reflective of whatever their out of basis time is that coincides with those summer months. 12-month faculty, as y'all know, are not eligible for summer compensation. Just a reminder that summer comp is not dual employment or a faculty overload. Those are things that we're going to use for faculty when they're in basis. So during their appointment period, they're eligible for internal duals and FOVs or other supplements, but during the summer months, they are not eligible for duals or supplements. Again, so that's where summer compensation will come into play. We've got two types of summer comp, our summer instruction, which is teaching courses over the summer months, and then ECOM or extra compensation / research. So we know that those are two very different buckets, but we just kind of lump them together as a if or statement. So extra compensation is generally speaking going to be associated with that faculty member's administrative appointment that they have during their in-basis time. And this is a way to compensate them during their out-of-basis time as well. And then research performed on a grant or sponsored award being that other option. Who's eligible? So FTE faculty, again, in a 9, 10 and a half, or 11-month basis, you're going to see it repeated several times because we don't want you to forget those 12-month faculty are not eligible. You'll see them in that other column. TFAC who taught in the immediately preceding spring semester. So TFAC who are teaching right now or maybe taught an earlier class in the spring, but they had to have been teaching spring 2026 to be eligible for the summer compensation process. Staff, as well as research grant and time limited faculty and student employees are not eligible for summer compensation. Again, FTE on that 12-month pay basis, they don't have an out of basis time, so no summer comp eligibility. And then again, TFAC who were not teaching here in spring 26, they're not eligible. Of course, that doesn't mean you can't hire them. You're just going to do that through the normal process through people admin as a quick hire. All right, so our dates for 2026, 5/16 through 8/15, 2026. Those dates won't change every single year. That is our summer comp time, our out of basis time for those 9-monthers. Our summer instruction, we realized that some of those Maymester classes might start in early May, especially with our graduations being a little bit earlier this year than they've been in years past. Those Maymester courses might start before 5/16. Absolutely fine. We want you to use the true effective date when you are doing these hires, whether it's TFAC or FTE faculty. But please note that they will not receive any payment until at least the 5/31 paycheck. They cannot receive payment until they are out of basis. So even if the course begins earlier, they will not receive payment for that until their first out of basis paycheck. And we'll go over when those pay dates are in the next few slides. Econ research cannot begin before 5/16. There are no exceptions to that because it's not tied to a course. Again, it's not that instruction exception. And then again, under no circumstances will summer compensation of either kind, instruction or econ research, extend past 8/15. Pay info. So our summer comp will be paid on the same basis as the FTE's primary position, as that FTE pay schedule. And then for the TFACs, everybody is on a pay lag, just like they are in their academic year appointment. Please remember that that salary is going to be based on whatever their compensation is for the FTE faculty as of 5/15/26. In the event that there's a general increase or other legislated mandate increase, that will not impact the summer compensation earnings for 2026. I know you guys know that, just sharing that reminder because we do get questions directly from faculty related to that each summer that we have a general increase. If you need a listing of the pay schedules, you can find those, of course, out on the payroll toolbox. Reminder again, if folks are on a pay lag, if they are teaching in earlier summer, so if they're receiving that Maymester class, they start teaching the beginning of May, they're still not going to receive that first paycheck until 6/15 if they are on a pay lag. And again, all TFACs are on the pay lag, the same schedule that they are during the academic year. All right, what are you going to see in job data for these summer comp assignments? All of these summer compensation assignments, whether FTE or the TFACs that we are doing via the paper process that we'll speak about in just a minute, those will all appear with a job code of VSUM, indicating summer employment, summer appointment. That way we can really quickly report on how many people we had engaged in summer compensation. We can report on whether they were instruction or research based on what you're seeing in that second screenshot there. The pay group will let us know if that's research or if it's instruction. So again, we can report that back to Provost as needed. And they'll be able to see, you can quickly see if that's research current, research lag, instruction current, or instruction lag. When you're looking at the compensation tab in job data, it's going to look a little bit different than the rest of your employees, whether you have FTEs, RGPs, time limited, temps, however you have it. Summer comp will look different because of our compensation frequency that you see in that first highlight. We use what's called contract pay in the HCM system to pay for our summer compensation for our faculty. So what that also means is that you don't see an annualized salary for our temps, which is fantastic. So the salary that you see down in the compensation rate, that's going to be the last highlight on the screenshot, is the actual payout for this appointment. So that $50,250 and change is the actual payout for this assignment. No annualizations, no wondering what they're going to get. It's shown there fully. Again, so not a semi-monthly value. You're not going to see that in the compensation rate anywhere here. You're just seeing the actual amount associated with that contract. All right, let's talk about compensation limits. So we have a change here, and that's why I'm so glad you're all with us today. In the last, I think, 4 summers, it has been 66 work days. This year, summer 2026, we have 65 work days, so that changes the percentage limitations for all of our different employee types. And so for our 9-month faculty, we are at the 33.33, so the flat 33 and a third, which is generally what we say our earnings limitation is over the summer. But in years past, it has been a slightly higher percentage at the end of that decimal. So again, 33.33 this year. And then for our 10.5-month faculty, we're at 15.55, which is up to 35 working days, depending on those dates. And for 11-month faculty, the limit is 10.63% of their base salary, again, up to 25 working days, depending on the dates. And as y'all remember, the holidays that do occur over summer are calculated here. They're captured here. So we are counting those as potential work days. The exceptions to the 33 and a third limit for summer instruction are allowed. We can go up to 40%, and that is allowed in state HR regulations, up to 40% strictly for summer instruction. However, any approvals for this on the Columbia campus must go through the provost office. Anything over 33 1/3 for summer instruction must be approved by the provost office. Now, for those actions here on Columbia campus, that's going to route the summer hire e-form will route directly to the provost office in workflow, and they'll be able to review and give approval as applicable there. For those campuses, we're going to need you to get approval from the chancellor and attach that to the summer hire e-form as you've done the last few summers that we've had this e-form process. We don't have the mechanism to direct it all the different places for other campus locations. So for those, please just attach the chancellor's approval or your campus provost approval, however that designation occurs on your campus. Attach it to that summer hire e-form, so when it arrives here at HR Ops with your service teams, we'll know that that approval has already been granted. As a reminder, there are absolutely no exceptions to the 33 1/3 limit for e-commerce research. And again, this will reflect back to state HR regulations. The up to 40% is strictly for summer instruction. All right, offer letters. So we've got templates for you updated with 2026. As I said, I'll send everything out when we wrap up today. Every summer hire requires an offer letter. Please use our templates. These are built in conjunction with existing offer letter templates to include vital information that General Counsel has approved in our other templates. And then, of course, has information pertaining to summer 2026 and has just a great structure for you. Just slap it on your letterhead. The work's already been done there. We've got one template for FTE faculty and two for our temporary faculties. The reason we have two is because there might be a retiree TFAC that is coming back for us. So of course we want to capture that return to work retiree information there in that offer letter template. Reminder that every line item on your offer letter needs to be a separate hire in the system. So if they are teaching 3 classes, they're each going to have their own line on the offer letter template in this little grid that we're showing in this screenshot. And each of those should be associated with a separate hire. The reason being, if one class is canceled, you can very quickly separate that one class. But if you've lumped several classes into one, changing that structure and doing a compensation change could potentially impact the contract pay depending when you got that in. So being able to just terminate the appointment individually streamlines the process, reduces any risk of over or under compensation, depending on, again, how timely that submission was done to change the contract pay. Okay, and this goes for summer hires submitted on the e-forms for our FTEs and also for those done on the PBP2S form for the TFACs. So that paper form, if there's multiple lines there, we need multiple lines on the offer letter. Everything should match. So whatever dates, the course number or description that's provided and the compensation for each row should match what's on the PBP2S form or the summer hire e-form. Again, each individual course or research funding source, if they're working on numerous different projects over the summer, each of those should have their own line and their own hire. Okay, please do not use these summer comp offer letter templates for any other actions. We have seen where duals, internal duals are being submitted over the summer months for faculty using the summer comp offer letter template, which is not accurate, and same with FOV. We've experienced that in years past, so we just wanted to send this reminder. If items are submitted with this template attached for the summer comp offer letters, we're going to be recycling that and asking for different documentation if applicable. Remember that duals do not require an offer letter, so we would probably remove that on our end if everything else looked okay. But you shouldn't be sharing these letters with faculty if it is not associated with a summer comp assignment. All right, our action deadlines are the same that is published out on our HR toolbox and that you get reminders from me every week in that newsletter. So they're the same ones you can find, nothing crazy out here, but please just remember that late actions severely negatively impact the employees. And we've got a couple slides detailing that. And any action just like our other HR actions, any summer compensation that you're initiating on or after that effective date is considered late and is going to require late justification. You can put that as a comment or you can have an attachment, whichever you prefer, but please be sure to provide that to us to expedite approvals. If it's very late and no late justification is provided, we're going to have to circle back to you on that. As a reminder, that is required for audit purposes, documentation of late submission. All right, impact of late actions. So it's going to impact the employee first and foremost because they're going to end up paying more in taxes because the taxes are done calculated using the taxable earnings due on the current pay, not taxable wages for each individual check missed. And so we've got an example here. Our friends in payroll provided this to us a couple years ago. We've just been using it ever since because it's a fantastic reminder. If an employee is paid $500 per pay period, from 5/16 to 7/15 for summer instruction, that on-time hire was done 5/3, let's say, in advance of that 5/16 date, they're going to be taxed based on the 500 minus any retirement. But a late action, let's say approved on 7/2, would result in the employee missing 3 paychecks, and taxes are going to be calculated at 1,500 minus any retirement. So again, an impact to the employee. Additionally, contract pay does not accurately calculate retro payment on its own. And as a result, these late paperwork, that's always going to create a lot of additional work and analysis for the corrections team there in the payroll office. And so manual work there, negative impacts for the employees. Please, I know it's out of your control oftentimes, but please be sure to share this information with department chairs and area leaders so that they understand the importance of getting these submitted as timely as possible. Additional impacts extend to the summer job change and status change e-forms. So late submission of job change and status change can result in overpayments related to terminations and late salary changes. And we want to avoid that where possible. Obviously, again, I know you do too. The information is maybe late getting to your shop, so spread the word with your area leaders so they understand the impact of these late hires. And faculty routinely call payroll office when they have concerns about their paychecks or delays in pay, and they have expressed over the many years negative impact for them is their inability to budget summer pay because paperwork is so routinely turned in late. And that's just not feedback that we want to be receiving from our faculty. As a reminder, we removed session codes from both our e-form as well as the PBP2S form back in 2024. That worked really well 24 and great last year in 25 as well. So we probably won't even talk about it again next year in 27. But last reminder here in 26, there are no session codes. You just tell us when the course is happening, the start date, the end date, effective date, just like you do for every other action that occurs either in people admin or HCM. We didn't see a need for this to be pulling in those session codes unnecessarily when it doesn't mirror the other processes that we have here in HR. Open text fields on the PBP2S form. So right there where it says session and you see summer 1 and 2 listed on the PBP2S form, you can write whatever you want there. So you can, however your campus labels that session code, if you want to call it something specific for your college, however it will make sense for you to review this form, you can use it in that field and then ensure that those dates are accurate. And again, whatever you're putting here on the e-form or the PBP2S form, be sure that that aligns with the offer letter. FTE faculty. So our process for that is via a summer hire e-form. That e-form is really quick and easy. It's a one-pager. You'll give those dates, tell us whether it's instruction or research ecom. And remember, where you see research or ecom, they mean the same thing. So please, if you don't see one or the other, it means the same. Just be sure that you're using the appropriate bucket there. The e-form does present the limitations that we talked about on a few slides earlier, how many days that can be worked in the summer for 10 and a half and 11 monthers, and that earnings limitation percentage there, that's listed out on the e-form so that you can reference it right there in front of you. And then changes to active summer comp assignments are made via the Summer Job Change e-form NHCM. So if you need to change dates, you need to change the compensation, anything like that, you'll do that directly via an e-form, the Summer Job Change e-form. That form will only appear for faculty who have an active summer compensation assignment. So if you are initiating a summer hire e-form that begins on 5/7, and then you realize that there was increased enrollment and you need to increase the summer compensation, well, guess what? Today it's April still. So you're not going to be able to initiate that action because EPAF homepage is effective dated, and that summer comp assignment will not appear for you to take action on in EPAF homepage until on 5/7. So just keep that in mind. That system is operating exactly as designed when it does not present those future dated summer hires for you in EPAF. Now you'd be able to see them in job data to verify that it went through, the e-form executed properly, and of course via the queries as well, but you would not be able to take an action until the assignment is active. And same, once it's ended, you will not find it in EPAF homepage and won't be able to initiate any actions on it once it has already ended. Summer comp assignments, if they need to end prior to the end date that's on file, right? Something happened. Usually we would see that with econ research, not so much with instruction unless the course was canceled. But usually on econ and research, if they needed to end it before the expected end date, just a reminder, that's on the regular status change e-form. There is not a summer separation e-form, summer status change. It's just the plain old status change e-form, but be sure that you're using it from the IMPL record associated with that summer comp assignment. For our e-forms, again, directly done in the HCM system, the summer hire e-form will monitor and track that 33.33 cap across multiple forms, and will it'll present the information on other appointments as view only on the e-form that you're initiating. So that form status needs to at least have been submitted, right? If two people are initiating an action at the exact same time, that's not going to appear here. But once a form has been submitted into workflow, if it's pending, as you see in the screenshot here, it will appear for the next person who initiates an action. But I don't want to say it's foolproof because people could be initiating at the same time or similar timeframes, and there could be a gap where it's not showing. But if it's already in the workflow and someone else initiates an action, you'll be able to see it here. And then that summer total comp field that you see in the bottom of the screenshot, that's going to calculate the hire that you're doing combined with the action that's already in flight for that individual. Just a reminder that anyone with the EPAF initiator role can initiate summer hire e-forms for any FTE faculty across the university system. Just think about this the same way you think about internal dual. And so anybody, any HR contact across the system can initiate the action on FTE faculty members in other departments. We have so many folks who are employed in numerous areas, not just their tenure home or their headcount department. They might have assignments in other units. So we ask, as always, that if you are initiating a hire or making an offer for summer compensation to a faculty member outside of your department, that you are partnering with their home area to ensure that whatever you're trying to pay them can be captured in that total compensation. We unfortunately have scenarios every summer where communication did not occur between numerous departments, and then offers have been made that greatly exceeded the earnings limitation, and we are hard pressed with those limits. Again, as mentioned, they're directly reflected in state HR regulations, and so we're not able to fulfill those offers. So please be sure that you are communicating with other units if you're hiring faculty outside of your department. Here's our TFAC adjunct overview process. As a reminder, TFAC who taught in the spring 2026 are teaching right now, where they ended last month maybe, they can be hired via this PVP2 as paper form. But if they did not, then they'll go through the normal process in people admin as a temporary quick hire. TFACs are only eligible for summer instruction. They cannot be hired for e-com research. Now, does that mean that there are temporary employees who aren't doing research related activities? Of course not, but they're not eligible for summer comp. And so if you have folks that you're trying to hire to do research related activities and they're TFACs who happen to teach in the spring, you would still need to hire them through people admin as normal because that would not fall under summer compensation. Here's a screenshot of the beautiful PVP2S form. One day I'd love to be able to tell you that we're getting away from this form, but I figure the one-page form and a quick offer letter is still faster than having to engage the faculty member to submit their application by the quick hire process, do the hiring proposal, and get that all the way through workflow. So unfortunately, we are still using the paper process this year. We've started conversations with the HCM technical team to see if by any chance we could move this to an e-form or some other streamlined process. But as of yet, no solution has been identified. So we're going to continue rocking and rolling with our PBP2S form. Streamline this form as much as we can. Again, removing a lot of the fields we didn't need, just the basics. What do we need to know to manually hire here on the service teams? USC ID, their name, what department, what campus, the building number, who they're reporting to, what class are they teaching, how much are we giving them, and give us that funding information. That's about as streamlined as we can be on this form. Please remember that the form will appear kind of blank. It will not look this detailed until you click the hire or change radial buttons at the tip top. Otherwise, you won't be able to do anything with the form. So remember, you got to click hire and then the fields will appear associated with the hire. Similarly, if you click change, the applicable fields for change will appear on this form. Please remember to put that combo code in the justification section. There's not often much other information that we need there. Really, just for payroll to be able to quickly reference that combo code is crucial. So please, please, please remember to include your combo code there, but then also list all of the accounting information in that bottom section as well. If you're doing numerous hires on this PVP2S form, be sure that the funding listed ties to the session title that you gave up top. So if you call it Summer 1, Summer 2, Summer 3, be sure that down in the funding section as well that's listed, or you can say all. If it's the same funding for all of them, feel free to do that and have the total listed there. But if it's not, if it's different, just be sure that however you're labeling the funding can be tied back to the applicable session code up top. All right, for separation actions, so meaning ending before the expected end date in HCM, those will be done on the status change e-form just like normal. So that's why there's not a separation or status change option here as a radial button at the tip top, because you'll just do that action directly in HCM. But all summer comp assignments are temporary and thus subject to the auto termination process. And so if they are ending on the expected end date, no action is needed by you or central HR. The system will automatically terminate them on that date that was listed at time of initial hire. So status change is just if you're ending them early. All right, submission for our PVP2S forms. So as you know, paper forms, they can only get to central HR one way, and that's going to be via an email. Those will come directly to the salary admin email box. Myself and Belinda Ogoric holding down the fort, reading those emails, making sure that everything is attached. The offer letter attached aligns with the PVP2S document that's been provided. We want to make sure that that's being utilized, that both of those are there. If there's questions, comments, if the things don't align, or if we have missing documents, we'll be responding to that email from the salary admin box advising what changes are needed. Please do not email forms to individuals on the service teams or here in central HR. We need everything to come through that main email box for tracking purposes. All right. All of our job aids, our information, our offer letter templates, the PVP2S form, and other resources will be housed on the toolbox under the summer compensation tab. They are not updated yet as of today, but we're hoping either tomorrow or early next week they'll be on the website. Again, I will email out not just to the folks who joined us today, but I'll send it to the main HR contact listserv, all of the resources when we wrap up so that you've got those at your fingertips. As a reminder, we've got 3 queries that are available to you, and we have a query listing document that tells you this as well. These are included in the query listing documents that live on the HR toolbox. So the pending summer e-form is going to provide the details on the summer comp hire form and summer job change e-forms that all have that VSUM job code that are pending in the workflow. Okay, so if they've already been approved, they're not going to appear on this pending one. These are the ones that are active in workflow. Just a reminder, because the status change e-form is not tied to summer comp, it will not appear in the summer queries. You can monitor that as regular. College Division HR contacts can use the query listed here, the workflow query, to monitor those status change e-form submissions as applicable. Initiators can monitor those through their dashboard like normal as well, whether they're College Division or not. If you are the initiator, you can still monitor that on your own. The next query is for the approved summer forms. It's exactly what you'd think. Summer hires and summer job change e-forms, those are going to show up there in that query, just letting you know who has been hired and what they've got, a quick reference. Last, we have our summer total comp query, and that's going to provide the current year summer comp on file for those employees and their 33 1/3 limit along with their FTE base salary. So that's kind of a catch-all quick reference, what they have and what their limit is, so you can see it all in one fell swoop. Again, another reminder, status change e-forms are not going to appear there because they're not specific to summer comp. Even though you've done it on a summer comp assignment, a summer comp IMPL record, they will not appear in these queries. So we need to be monitoring those via the workflow or the initiator dashboard. If you need to do any sort of account funding changes, that's going to be the same rule and process that it is for all other employee types. So current and future dated changes will be done via the account funding change e-form in HCM. Be sure that that is done on the applicable summer comp assignment. As I said earlier, if you realize that a change in funding is needed, but the summer hire hasn't yet started. You submitted a 516 ecom and we realize that we need to change what fund that's coming from. We can't do that until on 516. So even if you've got it fully approved in the system, you have to wait until it is active for it to appear in ePath for you to initiate this e-form. Retro changes, we hope you don't need any. I speak on behalf and in favor of Controller's Office. We hope you don't ever need to do retro changes, but if you do, it's that retro JE process as it is normally. And that's going to be all that we have for you today for our summer comp refresher. I knew it'd go quickly. Any chats, any questions in the chat, Belinda?
You got a couple coming in.
Okay.
They missed the due date for summer comp submission.
Okay, so that's just going to be the same deadline that we have for all of our other actions. That's out on the HR toolbox and is in the weekly newsletter that we send out as well. So it follows the same deadlines as all other HR actions.
And then another question that we have is daily rate calculation.
Great question. We don't utilize that anymore. We phased that out within the last couple of years, really. That daily rate calculation was making sure that the max 33 1/3 for summer ecom was not exceeded. However, as long as the total 33 1/3 is not exceeded, we're not limiting that.
What is the fringe rate?
It would vary for employees based on what they have, what type of employee, right? There's not a one answer to that. Apologies.
Yes. Uniform guidance for research grants will need to comply with daily rate. For research grants, are you talking about research grant employees? Because research grant employees do not have summer comp. Because it's only FTEs. Are you talking about FTE faculty, Wade, or? He's believing that, oh, Stephanie says that some grants require faculty to be paid based on their daily rate.
That daily rate calculation will still appear in the e-form for research ecom. It is not something that we hold to, but it appears there on the form for you for that quick calculation. It's only going to appear for ecom research when that reason is selected for the hire.
Does that answer your question, Wade? Yes, it does. Thank you, Teresa. Let's see. Let's give it a moment. Make sure here's one. Do we need to submit telecommuting forms for TFAC and post-Terry instructors being hired for online course instruction?
So the faculty process will still go through provost as normal, which is that there isn't a mandated process for faculty telecommuting, right? They're not within the state guidelines there. That's for staff positions only. So ensure that the provost is aware and approves the faculty telecommuting, but that doesn't have to go to state or to the governor's office or anything like that. It's the provost approval as it has been.
Thank you, Teresa. Let's give it a few minutes and website says 32.75 for faculty summer only for fringe. Again, fringe is going to differ depending on what they have. And I think Stephanie put in there the fringe rates from the sponsored award management. So you may want to look at that. And the website has not been updated. 195 days if the basis for academic year to calculate daily rate.
I do not know the number of days off the top of my head, Wade. We can set another time to have a conversation about that if you'd like.
33.85% versus 33.3%. Will HCM accept an amount salary calculated within the 33.85% and then route to the provost?
33.85% was the limit for previous years with 66 working days in the summer for 9-month faculty. But as we mentioned earlier, there are only 65 days this summer. So ecom research is limited strictly to 33.33, and the eForm will error should you enter an amount that's higher than that. Summer instruction, anything from 33.34 and above up to 40 will route to provost office for approval, or again require chancellor or provost from the campus's approval attached to the summer hire e-form.
Wade, someone answered you in the chat, Jennifer, saying she has 195 on her calculator. So far, no other questions. We'll give it a little bit more time.
If y'all think of questions after we wrap up, please reach out to your service team. They're your primary points of contact for summer compensation questions. They'll be the ones reviewing and approving your summer hire e-forms and entering those manual TFAC hires as well. So reach out should you have any questions. Please note that the e-form today It is available in HCM, but it has not yet been updated with the 2026 information. So we're hoping the HCM technical team will be able to get that ready for us either today or tomorrow, and then you'll be able to begin initiating those e-forms. We'll wrap up today emailing out all of the resources, the slide deck here, the offer letter templates, and a quick reference guide about earnings limitations. Any other questions come in?
No, ma'am. I think you're good.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.